looks like construction, some warehouse construction. So kick us off, Arlen.
Well, it's been a while. When we started Whiskey Wednesdays, we wanted to kind of show people really what Buffalo Trace is up to, and what are we doing to create and produce more whiskey, because a lot of the comments and feedback that we get is, of course, we need to make more whiskey, and the only way to do that is to expand our operations. We've expanded our cooking operation, our fermentation, and we're in the middle of expanding our distillation and drying and waste treatment and all these different things. But you make all this whiskey and you put it in the barrels, and then you don't have enough warehouse space to put it in. It doesn't do you much good. So we've been, over the last 3 years, expanding the farm, we call it, where we bought a farm, and we're in the middle of building warehouses. And we're building warehouses, one warehouse every 4 months. And we're filling those warehouses up as fast as we build them. And so since the last time, we've probably built 4 or 5 warehouses since the last time we talked, but we've built a total of 10 warehouses up here, and they're 58,800 barrels per warehouse. So we've got over 500,000 barrels up here aging right now, and more to come. So there's no end in sight for us. We've got a new one going up here. They'll finish that in the next month or so, and then the framers will immediately move from that warehouse over to the next warehouse, which the foundation part is done, and they'll start the framing work. Those trailers that you see ahead of us are actually jigs, where they can construct an entire row or rick, and they'll build that on those trailers, and so that way we're getting consistent construction on those ricks. And then they'll lift them up with the giant crane and put them in place. And it takes them about a week per floor, and there's 7 floors to build, and they stay busy. Then of course they have to skin it. And then really what makes these warehouses unique is we're trying to match the flavor profile of our older warehouses. And we've done a lot of work, and we've actually spent a lot of money per warehouse to help ensure that. And one of the things we did was we insulated these warehouses. Even though they're metal clad, we spent about $800,000 per warehouse to insulate these warehouses and get a good consistent temperature throughout the warehouse. And then another thing we did is we added a patented heating system in there, where we're using floor heat and circulation with dual zones, where we can control the temperature during the wintertime. And it really gives us complete control on how these barrels are aging. And we've done a good job. We've been monitoring a lot of the older, what I call old, the first warehouses up here. We've been monitoring those barrels, and we're really getting good, consistent results that match their current inventory. So we're pretty excited about all this. And like I said, more to come. The foundation crews will go straight over to the next warehouse, start building another foundation, and just continue building. And there's no end to it as long as we're going to continue to expand.
Yeah, that's great. There is a lot of questions out there. These rick houses are up here, and your old warehouses are down there. But what we're learning is you have more control over these. That's right? With the heating and things like that, you can dial it in.
Yeah, and the moisture levels and the humidity levels are the way we want them to be, and like I said, we're pretty excited about the results on it.
Yeah, that's great. We got just a couple questions before we take off. We know we're going to take a ride here and get an up close look at these. But Rick Fortner on Facebook does ask, once the ground is prepped, and one thing too is I've noticed it takes a lot. There's a lot of earth moved to make one of these rick houses. But once the ground's prep is complete, how long is the average build for a new warehouse from start to finish?
I mean, generally it's about 6 months to build it from start to finish. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it takes about a week to frame out one floor. But the groundwork is really important. They get it good and flat. They do the soil sampling and testing and make sure that the ground's all settled, and then they do the foundation work ahead of time, which that's, of course, everybody knows that's a really important part of it. So they'll do that, and then the framers will come in and finish up, and then the finishing touches are the heating system, the electricity, and all the things that we have to do to get it ready for barrels. So it's about 6 months from start to finish.
So it's not that much different than building a house, as far as progression. You got to do the foundation. But one thing I'm noticing before we get over there is that you're kind of building the inside first.
Yeah.
Instead of building, you put all your inside walls in later and things. But this is like the skeleton's getting built first.
Yeah, each barrel weighs 500 pounds, and so if you add that up, 58,500 pounders. All together, I don't know what the math is, but it's a lot of weight, and so those ricks have to be solid, built right, proven technology. This is something that Busick Construction is building for us, and they've got a lot of history, and they engineer these buildings to match what we need for the barrel storage. So it's really important to get that engineering right, of course. And the ricks, the woodwork, and the foundation is the critical piece to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I know we're going to take off, go see some...
Let's go look at it up close.
Okay. So just so everybody knows, we're going to jump on this Kubota here, but so it might be a little loud.
All right. Right now they're in the middle of doing the roof structure, so all the floors are done. You've got guys putting on the roof, getting it framed up, and it's what all the lifts are for right now and all the activity.
And sorry for the shaky camera work. I'm blaming that on Harlan's driving.
Yeah.
Right now they're in the middle of putting the roof on. They're done with the inside.
Yep, the ricks are done. They'll be doing the roof work and of course clean up and getting ready for electricity and all the other siding, elevator work, barrel lifts.
You want to take a look at this foundation? I'm going to hop off here. This is pretty neat.
The foundation, like I said, it's something they've already done. They let the concrete cure. The important part for us is ventilation and air movement. We want these channels underneath. We use them for heating, and again, air movement. So we got the ventilation on the outside, and important to get it good and square and solid.
Yeah, so can you open these vents as you need them, or is that just a natural airflow there?
We do open them all summer long. They'll stay open, and in the wintertime we'll adjust those based on the temperature and humidity inside the warehouse.
What do you think? I mean, I'm sure they're equal, but what do you think's the most important to really control, the temperature or like the humidity and the
Yeah, it's a balance. Temperature, we do know temperature, humidity, airflow, those are the three components that we guard, and we want to be consistent as these barrels age. So they're all equally important. It's a balancing. We also know what our history is. We're fortunate to have 240 years of history, and so we know what we're looking for and how we want to age our barrels.
Yeah. So starting from a brand new warehouse feels like more of a luxury than even using some of the older ones. So then you can dial it in, or
yeah, you're right. We are fortunate because a lot of our warehouses that we use today are built in the late 1800s. So we're going from late 1800s all the way till now. We got the full range of variations, and that gives us variety in our whiskey too, and that's really good for us.
So one thing I'm just starting to realize really is like you'll be able to change some of the details in the warehouse for the aging process. So you'll be able to say, hey, we want this to be a certain flavor profile, so let's tweak the heating and the airflow a little bit to maybe get it there.
You could do that. We're experimenting with that, being able to dial in the variables, but the one thing for us is we're just trying to be consistent.
Yeah.
So we want to repeat history. And so we're trying to get the same humidity, same temperatures on our recipes that our legacy brands. And then we also have the experimentation that we're doing too.
Yeah.
So
Great.
that is important.
Great. Yeah, it's always impressive to see it at ground level. You know, this is a view that we won't see again really once the barrels go in. So
won't be long.
Pretty neat. All right, where are we going next?
We'll go up to see some of the framing.
Okay. All right, all good. So on the grounds, you must have like a sawmill, your own little community going on here with so much work.
We do, and you know, millions of board feet come in, and we put these warehouses up fairly quick, so we don't really have time for another sawmill. So we installed, that's what this is a sawmill right beside where we need to cut all the lumber. So they'll be cutting all the ricks to size and getting everything the way we need it.
I don't know if you know this, but one of the questions we were getting asked was how many crew members build these things. I'm sure that's not something you know off the top of your head, but it looks like there's a lot of folks working on these.
Yeah, it's hundreds. I mean, we've got different specialists working. I mean, there'll be concrete crews and framing crews, roofing and siding, insulation, all different styles. Grab our hard hats.
Grab a couple hard hats here. I get to be off camera with the hard hat, but I think I look pretty good in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible when you get to walk up to one and see all the detail.
So this is the beginning, but you know, they're putting in sprinkler systems. They've got all the framing done. Siding will go up. The heating system. And like I say, this warehouse, we're pretty hopeful will be done in maybe about a month.
Okay. All right, step in this thing. How y'all doing? Good. Yeah, what a unique, you know, the thing I'm noticing, Harlan, walking in here is the natural light that's going to go away once the roof and all the barrels get in here.
A lot of the light will go away, but the one thing we did do is we're spending the extra money to put in a lot of windows. So we have about 440 windows that go into each warehouse. And we also strategically place those windows so you get lighting down the rows, and that's important for a lot of reasons, mainly safety, so you can see the sides of the barrels, but also the barrels themselves. We know that surface temperature is important, and we want some light and air circulation, and we open those windows in the summertime to give full ventilation, and we're just able to really get good aging that way. So.
It's something I never noticed in the ones that are finished, that there's only one main row, and there's not a middle section to these that won't get a window.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
so that's
at the end of each aisle.
At the end of each aisle, there's a
window.
There's a window. What is it? All right, so we can't go too deep in here. Looks like our video is cutting out.
We might be able to go
bit.
up. Let's go up and see what kind of activity we got going on.
We'll stay on the edge here. There's a lot of lumber, so I'm sure it's interfering with our connection here. But just to repeat, just in case that you didn't hear it, is like at the end of each row, there's a window, so there's going to be a lot of natural light. That's something that's unique.
And this is a barrel escalator. That's where the barrel escalator will go. So the barrels will be fed. This is not for people, but for barrels. And the barrels will come up and be able to roll down each aisle. That's what's going in here in this space. We'll head over to the.
Okay. So again, apologize if the connection is bad, but I feel like it might be hit or miss. So we're gonna roll with this. We're gonna make it work. So that was the escalator for the barrels.
Yeah, and we've got 7 stories.
7 stories. And so, can you go 8, 9, 10 stories, or is there a max?
So yeah, so every warehouse is limited by the dimensions. So there's a maximum height and a maximum footprint, square footage, and of course we're maxing that out because we want to maximize the amount of storage.
Gotcha.
So there is a limit. So 7 for us is the limit.
And I've heard you say a few times that, we're pretty much the biggest in the business. Is that still holding true?
That is holding true, and no plans to change that. We're continuing to put away more.
Harlan's outrunning me. Yeah, it's just a real fascinating view to see these in this stage. No barrels yet.
No barrels yet, but we're waiting. We're ready.
How fast are you filling these, Harlan?
We're filling them in 4 months, so it takes us 4 months to build them, 4 months to fill them up.
Yeah, now there's like a ton of natural light because there's no roof on here yet. I'm going to step right in here for a second. That's cool.
So we're on. They're framing up the roof. And that's what we're in the middle of. We'll get that all framed out, and then the roof goes on, then the sides go on.
Can we go up one more, or are we getting too close? All right. Yeah, this will be the last time I'm at the top of one of these with no roof on, no barrels. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So they're putting in, those guys are putting in the sprinkler system. And
is that something I'm assuming you have to have these days?
on the new codes, you probably do. A lot of the older warehouses don't have those, but we choose to have it on all of our warehouses. We had to install a 500,000 gallon sprinkler tank on site, and in order to be able to supply the water, and we do all that. We got diesel generators for the for the pumps, and it gives us the ability to be able to self-support that.
What about, we've got a couple questions. Dan Smith's asking about, fire prevention and any of those other safety measures. I'm sure that's of concern.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we choose wood, because wood is actually a better fire retardant than metal. The metal can melt and the wood can withstand a little bit more, but for us, again, we're putting in sprinkler systems and monitoring remotely, and so that way we hopefully won't have a problem.
Great. I know these guys are busy. We can venture back down, but this again is the shaft for the
elevator.
That's pretty descriptive. I guess they're going to cut a hole there.
There's a hole there.
Yeah, there's a hole. Don't walk on that. But you can kind of see really like how high we are. We're up pretty high, and this is 7 stories.
7 stories. Yeah.
Dang. We're filling them every 4 months, so you guys are cranking. Will that speed up? Will that production speed up once the new steel is in as well?
Well, we'll speed up a little bit, but we're also speeding up dumping. So the net is about the same. Every year we're producing a little bit more. Eventually we'll have to do every 3 months, but for now it's every 4. And over the next couple of years, that's what it'll be.
Yeah.
We'll head our way down.
Okay. Very cool. I got an interesting question from Ryan Hoff about the underground. All these are above ground. Ryan does ask, has an underground warehouse ever been considered?
Yeah, we've actually done a lot of studying on the environment and how it plays a role in the aging, and we have looked at what happens to when you cut off the airflow, when you cut off the temperature and lower the temperature, and we've looked at that. We're exploring a little bit of that with our lower temperatures, aging, also in Warehouse X. So we're in the middle of looking at that, not necessarily underground, but the same kind of variables.
Yeah, sure. All right, excuse me, buddy. We'll get to more questions here in just a second once we get down here.
Want to do questions?
Yeah, we can do some questions right here. Yeah, so Jason on Facebook does ask, and you may have mentioned this already, but will these be finished with brick or metal siding?
We do a little bit of both. Most of it is all metal siding, but we're also doing limestone on the corners for the effect, the look. But most all of them are metal, but the important thing is it's also insulated. We're spending a lot of money and time, energy to insulate the warehouses. That gives us consistent temperatures and able to control the aging a little closer.
Yeah, now I'm just going to pan back. Will all of them be same color, same outside material?
Yeah, for now we're not planning on changing that. We may in the future
Sure.
give it a little different look, but for now we're happy with what we've got and kind of matches everything.
Okay. And Dan Smith again has an interesting question. What type of wood is used for all this framing?
The majority of the wood is poplar, pine, and some oak, but majority of it is pine, and then some of the beams will be oak and poplar. We try to get grade A wood that no warping or checking or cracks. We inspect every single piece of wood that goes in here, and then after we put it in, we also inspect it. So later on, as it dries out, we look at the wood, the moisture, and the cracking, and see if we need to replace anything.
Yeah, that's great. And I think this is Eric on Facebook asks. This is interesting. I think a lot of our fans of the brands will want to know these kind of things. Has it already been decided which type of bourbon barrels are going into each of the new warehouses? Buffalo Trace, E.H. Taylor, Eagle Rare.
Well, we do diversify. So every warehouse gets barrels based on anticipated use. And we know that some warehouses, if they're taller warehouses, you can't put a 23-year-old bourbon on the top of the warehouse because of the temperature. So we diversify. We put all the brands in the warehouses. We want them to get good variation in aging, and we do that because we want that variation.
And I would say over time now that we have some that have been aging barrels for over, how long have
it's about 3 years.
About
now.
3 years up here.
We've been real happy with them.
Good. So you're learning enough to say, yeah, this is things are working out.
Definitely.
Good. Well, Harlan, we're about 25 minutes. I don't know if you have any closing statements. We've covered a lot here. You walked me up and down the stairs.
Well, I just want to show everybody we're busy. We get a lot of feedback about more whiskey and asking about are we making more, and that's what we're doing every day. We're expanding our production. We're working hard to make more, and there'll be more inventory on the market.
Yeah, and just one quick number, how many barrels up on the farm alone around?
We've got about 600,000 up here now, and more, we'll build more, like I said, every day. So no end to that.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, trying to get more of everybody's favorite brands out there on the market. So
that's the idea.
All right. Well, thank you, Harlan. It's always a pleasure.
No problem.